Good evening, and welcome to the Controversial Conversations podcast, also known as the CCP, but we're the good one. I am your host, Ralph, and I'm joined by my co host.
Oh, that's me, Cameron. How's it going, everybody?
Sounds pretty good to me. We have our special guest again, the same guy as our last episode. What the fuck's your name, buddy?
Tyler.
Oh man. And we got your social last time, so we're good there. Why don't you give us one of your debit cards and then all the silly little numbers on it? Maybe,
I don't have
maybe,
one I can give away right now.
maybe we can post that in the Discord and see what happens with it. Post it in the YouTube comments even. All right. So today we're gonna be talking about obesity and whose fault is it that we're obese? Let me start sharing my screen with you two so you guys can see what the hell I have pulled up. Um, and this all came up because Cameron brought this podcast here with Dr. Mike Israel. Israetel?
Israetel.
Israetel.
Israel stuff. A joke.
Yeah, Israel would not be. He's Russian or Ukrainian or something. That doesn't sound very. Anyway, Cameron brought this podcast up. Him and I listened to the podcast in whole, but for me that was a few days ago, so I'm a little bit rusty on it. But that goes in hand with our ignorance game that we play here. So.
Yeah, we're just going to be talking out of our wheres for the next couple hours, so take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, none of us know what we're talking about. We're all idiots. So, one of the points that Mike Israetel brought up was the correlation of um, obesity and your socioeconomic status. Tyler, you said before we started recording you had a hot take on that, so I'd love to hear it.
Oh, well, my hot take on what makes us fat is oil companies.
Oh shit. You're going to need to explain yourself.
So, why are Americans fat but Europeans not?
Okay. Food?
So
The
we
quality
have
of our
access
food?
to the same processed foods. They ban a few more chemicals than we do, but is that really what makes the difference?
Well, I thought Europeans had less chemicals than we did. Like, have you
Oh,
seen the?
yeah,
That's the whole
they
thing with
ban a
that's
few
the whole
more
thing with
chemicals.
RFK talking about like the Canadian Fruit Loops and the European Fruit Loops. Ian, we have another special guest.
What?
This is our another special guest, Ian. We are recording our podcast, the Controversial Conversations podcast, where we're talking about obesity and whose fault it is.
Ah, yes, obesity.
Tyler just said
What have you guys gone into so far?
absolutely fucking nothing. Tyler just brought up the fact that he thinks it's the oil company's fault and he's going into it.
Cool.
So carry on, Tyler. How is this the oil company's fault? I'm not understanding you here.
So during our post-war housing boom,
Post-war World War II?
post World War II, 50s and 60s. There's the Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Federal Housing Administration, and they agree that they're going to back mortgages. But they're only going to back mortgages if the neighborhood that house is built in conforms to certain standards, and part of that was the layout of the streets.
This
If
kind
you
of sounds
wanted
like
to-
Freedom Cities.
If you wanted to build a dense, walkable city, if you wanted to build a dense neighborhood, the
Mhm.
Federal Housing Administration would not back those mortgages. So you basically wouldn't be able to sell those houses because no one's going to qualify for a mortgage. So nearly all the housing that we built in that boom of the 50s and 60s is sprawling, car-dependent neighborhoods where you have to drive everywhere. And when you drive everywhere, you don't get exercise and then you get fat. But if you live in a dense, walkable neighborhood, then you don't get fat.
Now, you don't think that that has anything to do with the fact that it's easier to fight fires and protect those housing investments? Having, having wider streets and more sprawling means you can get a truck through there and a fire brigade even through that area much quicker, and in a much more manageable fashion.
I mean, does modern Europe have problems with fires? It's really not
No,
Well,
they don't build their house out of
problematic.
wood.
yeah, they don't build their houses out of wood and cardboard like we do here in the US. Everything in Europe is built out of brick and stone, and their
But
roofs are made of
you
slate.
can still design a city to be both walkable and safe. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other, Ralph.
Sure, yeah. No, I don't think you're wrong there.
That
Um,
goes into smart city planning.
But also, it wasn't the Firefighters Association of America that was lobbying the FHA to require that neighborhoods be built in a suburban sprawl style. It was the oil companies and the auto industries lobbying them to only back mortgages purchased.
oh, this is interesting. So I can get on board that having these population centers be spread out to where you can't necessarily. I where I live in Arizona, you cannot fucking walk. You can't really walk across town. Even in the winter here when it's like not a million degrees outside, you can't necessarily walk to the grocery store. I'm in a cool spot where I can walk to a grocery store, but then it also my path takes me across an artery road that goes, cars are driving on that road at 50 miles an hour, and I'm not interested in crossing that road. I don't trust people driving. Now, sure, stagnation of our bodies is absolutely a cause of obesity. If you're not exercising, you get fat. That's just it. Since I haven't been as committed to my mountain biking like I used to be, I have put on weight and I'm a bit chunky and I'm a bit chubby. However, it's not the only factor. Like the foods that with like American serving sizes are fucking crazy. If you look at here, I'll actually I'm sure that there's a picture to pull up here. I'll try and pull it up when I'm done talking. But if you look at the American serving sizes, especially back in the day when we used to do the supersize option, like that famous McDonald's supersize me option, versus the normal size of food that normal serving size of food that you would get in Europe, they are vastly different. I mean, there's constant tales of Europeans coming over to the US and they order a meal at a restaurant and they go, "Holy shit, that's a lot of food." And then an American will sit down and eat that whole fucking meal and it's no big damn thing. But then a European's like, "This will feed me for 3 fucking days." So Sure. Right. No, you're correct there. That's a multifaceted issue. Yeah, well, that's all. That is really important to note too. That it there obesity is an issue that is. Ooh, Cameron's popping some shit up here. Um, Obesity is an issue that has multiple factors built into it because some people cannot help it. Some people can help it. Some people live in an like uh, in the United States, it's obesity is most common in the South. Other parts of the country, it is way less common to be obese, and that's absolutely a cultural thing on top of your preconditions that may exist, like hyperthyroidism and so on and so forth. And that is important to acknowledge. Thanks for bringing that up, Ian. That's absolutely Prader-Willi syndrome. Prater? Sure, sure. But I mean, in as far as like, I don't even think that what like general terms would be appropriate. Like it would be an appropriate phrasing there, but just like overall, I suppose is kind of like our talk, what we're talking about here. Like we'll exclude the people that don't have control over their level of obesity when we're talking about this. We'll just be picking on the people that are obese by choice, more or less. That's a brutal way of putting it, but sure. So and but that's a crazy thing because if you come from a family where obesity is really common, then you're predisposed to that. And that's really interesting because then, like, my dad was a very large man. Two of my aunts had gastric bypasses because they were very large women. Um, I even think a couple of my other aunts probably had similar issues as well. Like it is a common trend in my family to be obese, to be large, and I'm an outlier in my family where I'm 6'5" and I weigh 230 pounds and I am overweight. However, I'm nowhere near as big as like the other parts of my family. So, like for me, in that sense, I'm able to see the fat people in my family and I say, I don't like that. I don't want to be that. And then when I walk past myself in the mirror and I see the chub, I'm like, I got to do something about that, right? So where the podcast that Cameron brought to us, what the road that they went down was purely socioeconomic, and they were talking about how Cam weigh in here because they were talking about how wealthier people have more access to more food and are I might have this backwards, Cam, less fat, and then they also have more time to exercise and take care of themselves so they don't become fat. Is that correct, Cam? I've got it. I've got it right here. Boom. Okay, there we go. So yeah, so if you're not Tyler, you went just recently. You went through a really intense weight loss journey, right? How much weight did you lose, if you don't mind sharing? Good job. And what triggered that for you? Why did you want to lose that weight? Ah, interesting. So you were conscientious enough that you said, Jesus, my knees hurt. I don't want my knees to hurt. What's causing the knee pain? I have a spare tire hanging off of me. I should get rid of the spare tire. And do your knees hurt now? Holy shit. So I like what we are all really fucking ignorant here. I mean, none of us know what the fuck we're talking about here, but what is that conscientious driver? Like where do people lack when they where do people lack when they're like when your knees hurt, when you walk past the mirror and you don't see what you like? What how do you not address that issue, and how are you not conscientious? And then how do you become more conscientious of that issue? Because conscientiousness will definitely help you elsewhere in life. So how do you get there? What's that road look like? Hmm. Right. Cannabis, alcohol. Yes. So what gets so I disagree with that 110%. I feel like conscientiousness um conscientiousness is something that you can absolutely work on. I don't think that is a I think genetically conscientiousness I think is a psychological trait where you can work on being conscientious. What's up, Sierra?
Going to watch the fat people with my soda and my animal cookies in spirit of this.
Good for you. Um, I feel like conscientiousness is something that you can absolutely work on because if well, fuck, you can't. It's got to be a psychological trait. It cannot be a genetic trait. I don't. It just flat, in my opinion, just flat out can't fucking be. That doesn't make a lick of sense. Because you can have people that are super unaware of their surroundings, and then something happens to them where then all of a sudden they become more like, look, you can pick on like a military person. So you can take a kid that comes right out of high school, is absolute loser, fresh out of high school, and then the military will take that kid, grind him into a pulp, and turn him around and ship him back out after he does his tour of duty with the military, and he will become then an entrepreneur. He'll be conscientious of his health. He'll be able to not be a loser anymore, and part of not being a loser is being conscious of what the fuck you're doing. Yeah, but I don't that's different. That's I believe firmly that a lot of those homeless veterans are struggling with like PTSD that makes their life more difficult to wrangle. Well, yeah, war is a son of a bitch. No doubt there. Really? Oh, that's what this is you just posted here. This guy's face looks fucked up. Kyle D. Killen, PhD. Your face looks fucked up. You should fix it. You've got money. Uh, what do you mean? Okay, well, if you're looking at the guy I'm looking at, he's a weird looking guy. But I'm reading his article. Uh, no, it doesn't. But it's just hey, he looks very uncomfortable. He looks very unhappy. No. Oh, so he's just a nerd. See, no, that is strange though. I mean, I believe I have an inner monologue. I don't know what that. How do you know you have an inner monologue? How can you gauge that? Absolutely, yeah. No, so what was the 30 to 50% of people who regularly think to themselves in internal monologues here? So, hmm. I can do that. Like when I do a lot of the fabrication work that I do for work, I will look at the part I'm trying to make in my head, and I can spin the part in my head in like a three-dimensional space so I can see the bottom of it in my head and help and rotate it and look at the top and the inside and the lefts and the rights. So if you're I guess that does track then. If your inner monologue is weak, if you're part of that the rest of the percentage, then well, but that you could extrapolate kind of. I mean, talking about like talking about like my well, so if you're saying like you were saying your knees hurt, and if you didn't have that internal monologue to work out why your knees hurt, then it stands to reason that you wouldn't have been able to figure out the source of your knee pain, right? And then you wouldn't have lost the 70 pounds you lost, right? It stands to reason. That's a logical train of thought, I think. Sore, just gotta live with it. You'd have to be super conscientious of yourself to address to like acknowledge that. Then you know we're talking retrospectively in this case. So, I mean, the the evidence is there that I think that if you just anecdotally look at it, where like, okay, well, inner monologue would definitely aid you in problem solving. And with your internal monologue, you're not only able to problem solve, but you're able to identify problems in your own universe. That's true. I mean, your internal monologue could see yourself. I mean, I kind of just went through that. I like kind of going through like, to put it vaguely, we're kind of going through like a financial situation here, and like I had a couple of days where it was just I beat myself up inside and was just like, what the fuck is the point? And I beat myself up so much I didn't want to. I didn't even go to work. And how do I get out of a financial situation like this? I go to work. And so, you know, there it is. There's a hole in what I just said, though. Your internal monologue, would it actually help you? So if you had a positive internal monologue, it could help you work through these issues. If you have a negative internal monologue, it could push you further into that issue. But then again, if you have an overly positive and narcissistic internal monologue, you could just get worse. If that tracks. What is this, Tyler? I wouldn't say it's a moral failure at all. Oh, I see what this is, Tyler. Hmm. No, I don't think so. I mean, no, it could happen to anybody. I mean, you could just become depressed and not be able to get out of that. And that's not a moral failure. It's just a terrible circumstance. And morality has nothing to do with it. Yeah. Right. Mm, You're good. You're good. But we're not. Oh, Ozempic. Here we fucking go. I'm very interested to see what the negative side effects of Ozempic will be in, 5, 10 years down the road, if any. And of course, they've got RFK of like literally the first mouse scroll you go. Hmm. You see, now that's something that happens a lot with people that have gastric bypasses because just they get these gastric bypasses, and essentially what a gastric bypass is they cut you open, they grab your stomach and they stretch it out, and then they put a staple in it and make your stomach smaller. So they pinch your stomach to, like, we'll just, for the sake of this, half the original size. And the idea there being is you have a smaller stomach, you can't hold enough food, you can't hold as much food, so then you eat less and you lose weight. But I know for a fact that there are a lot of people that do not adjust their eating habits accordingly, and they will blow that gastric bypass, and their stomach will open all the way back up, and that's that's the same thing right there. Like, that's fucking criminal, honestly. We're going to Oh, yes. That that's here I fucking go. That's the Nazi meth drug that Panzer Chocolate was given to, like, German mothers. Pervitin was essentially the same thing, it just in a pill form, and that's what was given to all of the the members of the army, the armed the military was given Pervitin. The civilians were given Panzer Chocolate, and the idea there. That's what that would. So that is from the books I've read, that it's a common misconception, because Pervitin was their go pill, and Pervitin is what allowed them, the Nazis, to cross the mountains and get into Poland in 3 days straight. It's what allowed them to operate the Blitzkrieg tactics. It is meth. Pervitin is a capsule full of uppers. It suppresses your appetite, suppresses your morality, doesn't make you need to sleep, so you can pull those long guard duties. Panzer Chocolate was a very diluted version of that was given to housewives in that same time period, so that, and they didn't understand what the hell it was, so they were giving Panzer Chocolate to children and mothers back in the motherland to cut down on their food and up their productiveness. So, like, the mothers would be working in, say, bullet factories or whatever, and they would be very, very productive. They'd be able to come home and be homemakers as well because they're tweaked out of their fucking minds. Um, Panzer Chocolate was not strong enough for the soldiers. At the beginning of the war, the soldiers did get Panzer Chocolate, but they built a tolerance so fast to it that they would exchange the Panzer Chocolate at their depot for more Pervitin, because the Pervitin was so much stronger and their tolerance was so high. There's a really good book you should check out. It's called Blitzed, and it's about the Nazi drug machine that fueled the Nazis' war. It's really a mind fuck of a book to read. Well, yeah, they were on meth. Meth made them very not hungry. They were malnourished. When they went through France, a lot of the uh, Sierra says we should talk about divorce rates in the U.S. for another podcast. 2 married guys and 1 engaged guy. Ian, aren't you engaged too? You're just in a long-term relationship? Okay, well then you still then we'd have the whole gambit covered there. Because we'd have a gay relationship, a straight, 2 straights, and a long-term committed relationship. That would be an interesting conversation for sure. Um, well, now I'm sure that those go hand in hand. Oh yeah, they definitely are walking side by side. Um, yeah, absolutely. Anyway, back obesity. So it is not a moral downfall. It's not a lack of consciousness. We've hammered that out, right? And we're not shaming people. We're not saying you're an idiot or you're a bad person because of your obesity. Um, it's just a bummer, is all it is. Absolutely. I mean, non-obese people live longer. That is a cold hard fact. People that are not obese, people that are not obese struggle with less depression. People that are less obese or not obese are able to work harder and progress into the socioeconomic front better because they're not obesity makes people tired, so they have a longer battery life. I mean, it in all fronts, I would say it's healthier to not be obese. I will die on that hill. But it's so pull up. Oh, medically assisted suicide. Oh shit. That is interesting. I haven't heard that before, Tyler. Hell yeah. Well, that's another thing. Alcohol makes people fat like crazy. Uh, Yeah, I am guilty of that here in Arizona. But I'm conscientious enough to know it. Where I know that. I mean, I'm not drinking anything tonight. I had a couple beers last night, but um, you know, I know for a fact that part of the spare tire that I'm lugging around is from beer. You know, liquid bread, liquid lunch. Weed like pot? Oh, wheat for bread.
Even in my most fueled postpartum depression stages, like the worst of my entire life, did I ever, and it was not that great most of the time, did I ever let my fucking sink, the smell,
Hey, yo.
the smell, I, it actually
She's
makes me want to
showing
puke.
she's showing me a screenshot, I guess, or a paused video of somebody's
TikTok.
vile fucking sink.
I literally have goosebumps.
Sierra, do you have an internal monologue? When you need to work out a problem, do you have like a little voice in your head that you can talk to break a problem out, break a problem down?
What? Why? Stop eating eggs.
I'm
Your
not
butt
eating
smells
eggs.
disgusting.
Do, do you have do you have an internal monologue?
I don't know what that means.
So your internal monologue is
So do I hear like a voice talk back to me, and it's just my
can do
inner
you
brain?
do you talk to yourself in your head essentially when you're faced with a problem? Do you talk to yourself in your head about solving the problem?
I guess.
You guess.
Yeah, I like make a list in my head.
You make a list in your head. Now another question: can you, if you think of an object, can you picture that object in your head?
Not initially. If I really want to think about an apple, I kind of like I'm trying to think about an apple, and all I see is like red in my head. But initially, it's like nothing. Like I'm like it's an apple, and then if I really want to try to picture it, then I just kind of see some red in my head, and not the actual apple.
Interesting.
I
Well,
think I think if
our
you
polling group here fucking sucks because we all have internal monologues apparently.
what is that? How do you not even have an internal monologue? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, they might be sociopaths, right?
I was gonna say I
Or
feel like
psychos.
no, I don't think it's okay. But you know who I think has no internal monologue?
I would argue that that's still a form of an internal monologue, though. I mean, sure, monologue specifically is referring to dialogue. Um, uh-oh, you're fucking skits, bro. Well, so let's talk about the monologue here, the this internal monologue. I mean, so Ian, you're saying that like some people think in like pictures, colors, shapes, and so on, and so in my head, when I'm working on a car, I am a mechanic. When I'm working on a car and I'm like, okay, I need this wrench. I need a 13 millimeter wrench. In my head, I see a picture of my toolbox. I see the drawer where my wrenches are, and I see the wrench organizer, and I know what slot the 13 millimeter wrench is in. And I see that as a picture in my head. Then what? Then when I slide the drawer open and the 13 millimeter wrench isn't fucking there, then I got words in my head going, where the fuck is my wrench? Sometimes they come out. Where the fuck is my wrench? God damn it. How do I work without this wrench? What is my other option? And then I start picturing the next tool in the arsenal to get me through that 13 millimeter situation. So I don't, fuck yeah. so So maybe monologue is an outdated term. Sorry, Cam, I cut you off. Essentially, I would hear them. Essentially, yeah. So this is this is kind of interesting. I would like to interject this here. I used the Brave Search AI and I told it define internal monologue, and it is referencing Center Fex, Better Up, Britannica, and two more sources to define the internal monologue. And I'll go ahead and read this since I don't think everybody's looking at my screen. An internal monologue, also known as an inner monologue or internal dialogue, is the voice inside your head that you use to think and reflect. It provides a running verbal commentary on your thoughts and experiences, helping you process information, make decisions, and plan your day. Some people experience this sensation, but research suggests that only 30% to 50% of people have inner monologue. Internal monologues can be thought of as a silent verbal processing where individuals reproduce a voice in their mind without moving their lips or making a sound. This inner voice can take a particular timbre or tone that can be helpful for decision making, memorizing information, and working through emotions. However, when these monologues become negative, they could be damaging to your self esteem. And it rattles on further. So the definition seems to be very rigid for your internal monologues. Appears to be very rigid that it is it's a mentally verbal thing. Sure. So maybe monologue is like kind of like an outdated term to be using in this setting. Well, yeah, it makes you sound smart. Well, what I'm picking up there, so that kind of sounds like maybe some sort of underdevelopment in your psyche or your brain, maybe. Oh yeah. Oh, I wonder if. Okay. You just want me to like read it out? So our massive following can also see. Are such a big following, guys. I never knew we'd get this big. Me liking my own videos I post on YouTube. um, what part would you like me to read, Tyler? This part? All right. Well, I'll start here. I'll read this section. Um, the two streams hypothesis is a model of neural processing of vision as well as hearing. The hypothesis given is internal characterization in a paper by David Milner and Melvin A. Goodale. Whoa, he's crazy looking too. In 1992, argues that humans possess two distinct visual systems. Recently, there seems to be evidence of two distinct auditory systems as well, as visual information exists in the occipital lobe, and as sound leaves the phonical network, it follows two main pathways or streams. The ventral stream, also known as the what pathway, leads to the temporal lobe, which is involved with object and visual identification and recognition. The dorsal stream, or where pathway, leads to the parietal lobe, which is involved with processing the object's spatial location relative to the viewer and with speech repetition. Okay, I don't know what I got out of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You basically just went into this general features tab in the Wikipedia here, which I'm going to read this out here too, because it kind of says the same thing that you were just saying. The dorsal stream is involved in spatial awareness and guidance of actions. Example given: reaching. In this, it has a little bit of white noise coming through it. In this, it has two distinct functional characteristics. It contains a detailed map of the visual field, and is also good at detecting and analyzing movements. The dorsal stream commences with purely visual functions and occipital lobe before gradually transferring to spatial awareness as its termination in the parietal lobe. The posterior parietal cortex is essential for the perception and interpretation of spatial relationships. accurate body image, and the learning of tasks involving coordination of the body in space. It contains individually functioning lobules. The lateral intraparietal sulcus lip contains neurons that produce enhanced activation when attention is moved onto stimulus or the animal saccades towards the visual stimulus, and the ventral interparietal sulcus VIP, where visuals and somatosensory information are integrated. So that was, Ian broke that down in a much more digestible fashion without all these ridiculous, silly, smart people words. Uh-huh. So well, lack of percept. Again, though, there is not one cause of obesity. So, I mean, being like talking about here in the ventral stream, where like they were talking here about how it helps this part of your brain processes like where you are in space. It understand that's the part that processes where your body is. So maybe if there's a lack of development or a lack of resources maybe in that area of your brain, you wouldn't be able to identify your obesity as readily as somebody else per se. I'm gonna I have an example that disagrees with you there. I have a coworker who is obese. I'm not gonna use his name. That's not polite. It's not nice. But he is obese. He is a very large boy. He is very unhealthy, especially in the Arizona summers here. This last summer, his first summer in Arizona, he almost died. Um, he is unable to see the fact that this comes up in this has come up in conversations I've had with him, because he almost died from heat stroke, and I straight up told him, like, dude, you need to start looking at losing some weight in whatever way you can. It will help you immensely during the summers here, because you're lugging around a lot of weight, and your body's working really hard and trying really hard to keep itself cool, and it sucks. He is unaware of his size. He cannot comprehend the fact that that he is bigger than me and he's shorter than I am. He cannot grasp the concept that he is not healthy. I am positive about that. So my boss, well, so this is Now, in that, well, so this guy will absolutely tell you no, no problem, no problem to it. He has no issue telling you no, even if he shouldn't be telling you no. So he, in other instances, like my boss was trying to be very generous. My boss was like, after this heat stroke incident, came to him and was like, hey, I will pay to put you on this weight loss program. I lost a bunch of weight on this program. A couple of other office employees lost a bunch of weight. I will pay for you to do this program so that you are healthy and you can work healthily for me because I like you. It could be. This guy's kind of kinky. That's a joke. But this coworker looked him in the eye and says, I don't understand what the problem is. I'm fine. There are other instances where he is unable to identify the fact that he can't do A or B because of his size. He doesn't, the connection in his head isn't there. And I've seen that over and over again in my interactions with this person, that he is absolutely unaware of the situation he's in. I also don't think he cares, is another big part of it too. And he has confessed, he has said that he does battle with depression as well. So that's another factor in the soup. That's another ingredient in the soup of this individual. But he's also an individual, and his problem is not going to be the same for everybody. But I think that is to my point where if you're unable to identify that if you can't look at yourself in a mirror and see the issue, then you can't address the issue. Therefore, the issue persists. If that tracks. Maybe. I mean, he is a coworker, and we also don't like each other per se. So, Say-gep, we are recording, just so you know. So, yes, that's all absolutely a factor that he might not want to address that with me or address that with my boss. But on repeated occasion, it's not just like a one-off thing. On repeated occasion, Cameron's heard me bitch about this guy, but on repeated occasion, this guy does not acknowledge the situation he has gotten himself into and does not want to change the problem, does not care. And then I personally genuinely believe that he just doesn't see the problem. And I mean, on a sidebar there, I don't give a shit. It's not my body. It's not my problem. If you keel over on a job site, then it becomes my problem. But aside from that, it's not my problem, you know? And yes, on purpose. He was unaware of the fact that you chew gum and then spit it out when you're done with it. He swallows it. You're not supposed to take a whole pack of gum, Tyler, chew it, and swallow it. That's bad. If I got to explain this to you, you and I have other problems too. Swallowing a piece of gum here and there is one thing, but when you buy a pack of gum in the morning and then by lunchtime that pack of gum is completely gone and then you claim you've swallowed it, that's fucking crazy. That's what that is. It's a crazy thing. And poor man's Ozempic. Let's fucking go. But this guy also I've gone out to lunch with him a couple times, and where I will get like, where I will get like a medium. Say I didn't eat breakfast that morning, and I'll get like a medium sized lunch. This guy will without fail every time have the extra large meal option. Uh, yeah. Uh huh. Oh yeah. Well, definitely. Because like one of the places that I've eaten with this guy the most is Panda Express, and when I go to Panda Express, I get the medium plate, and I will get the rice and whatever fucking protein option. And I don't always eat all that. I don't always eat all the food on that plate because it's a lot of fucking food. But I have the capability to just throw that food away. First world problem for sure. Um, this individual will then come and be like, "Oh, I'll eat that," and he will have eaten his bigger plate, which is their sizing option, where he will get, and then he'll have other entrees that he buys on the side of that, and then will clean up my leftovers. And like there could absolutely be there is absolutely a mental illness factor to stuff like that. Like that I feel like from what we've been talking about so far, I feel like a lot of this becomes psychological. I don't think that it's a genetic thing necessarily. Some of it, sure, but a lot of it must be a psychological thing where you see mom and dad do it, you see grandma and grandpa do it, you start doing it, and you don't know how to break the cycle. And then you might not be able to identify the issue. You might lack your internal monologue or something, and the problem persists. In this character's that I'm painting's situation, I feel like it's just like a lack of care. And like Tyler, if you have a coworker that's like, I would love to lose this weight, that could be that could be like a cry for help where he doesn't even know where to get started. And then he might have seen you lose all of your weight and been like, that was cool. And I don't know, some people like that might just need like a friendly hand to help them walk down that path. Yeah. Motivator. Yeah. I know personally when I started going to the gym back home in California, one of the biggest things that helped me motivate myself go to the gym was Say-gep was always at the gym, and I always could go to the gym with Say-gep. And then after I built the habit by going to the gym with Say-gep, I could change the habit to do something different where I would go to the gym. Like my routine was I would go to the gym first thing in the morning before work, which I need to get back to that for my mental health and my physical health. But um and Sega was that external motivator where it was like, okay, I could see Segup's got big biceps. I want big biceps.
I'll go to the gym with you.
Segup's got a juicy butt cheek. Got juicy butt cheeks.
Whoa,
I want
that's
juicy butt
definitely
cheeks.
gay.
So, and then having somebody that you could build like camaraderie with by going there and doing that with is that. And like again though, that would be a huge thing for a lot of people is just I don't know where to start. I don't have the money for a personal trainer. I don't know how to ask for the help. Ooh, Tyler, little Boy Scout opportunity, and maybe start helping your coworker out there. Camaraderie, hell yeah, Ian. Well, you're autistic, so that's not how you would say that. You would be like, "Hey, I go to the gym on these days during the week. Would you like to come with me?" Something a little less in. You'd have to construct that conversation. Well, those eating habits would also become easier to shake if you start doing rigorous exercise. Something I noticed when I was going to the gym, I would actually crave less food. Like I would come out of the gym, I'd be hungry, I'd need breakfast, but I would eat less breakfast than when I wasn't going to the gym. And then on top of that, I became more perceptive with my own body where I was like, okay, I've been exercising. All of a sudden, I start feeling what this food I put in me does. So instead of going and grabbing the sausage egg McGriddle at McDonald's, I would be like, well, I can just throw some fruit in my car and a pack of oatmeal, and that would be much more satiating. And then I feel better after I eat that because I think there is something to say that when you're exercising, you develop a better communication path with your body internally, where you can feel what you put in you and what it's doing. I mean, well, say them anyway. I called the guy weird, dude. Go ahead, say it. Yeah, buddy. That's that lizard brain. It's I mean there's no right or wrong answer here. And again, there's no one solution for people. That's where I strongly disagree with Dr. Mike, the really buff Dr. Mike was, he was drawing direct connections between socioeconomic causes and obesity. And I think personally I think that's ignorant and arrogant on his. Yeah, I'll pull it up again. Let me swing this screen over to this screen and bam, there it is. This is not it. Was this it? Oh, okay. Then it should still be there. I haven't closed anything. Son of a Control Shift T. There it is. Something like this. Ah! Something anecdotal and I think interesting. Um, Here in Arizona, I see a lot less obese people than I did in California. That's purely speculative and anecdote. Like in our part of California, where it's a temperate climate, there were a lot more obese people that I saw just on the street. Here in Arizona, even the people in mobility scooters are not necessarily, they might be clinically obese, but they don't look physically obese, put it that way. Like they're not big and round, I suppose. Do with that what you will, but I don't know what you're talking about, Tyler. Yeah, Statista, CDC, PMC, Medical News Today, Journals, dot whatever, NCBI, PRB.org. Oh, what happens when I click elaborate? It's thinking. I don't want to give you more information. Go away. I regret that. Um, okay, I will swing that over to my other screen. Maybe. Under FPL, federal poverty level. So financial situation, it does stand to reason that a financial situation could affect your obesity. Now, if you're above the FPL, you would have access. You for instance, if you're impoverished, you're not going to go to your local co-op and buy farm fresh vegetables, and you're not going to have access to cleaner, healthier foods. You're not going to have access to. In my head, if you're broke, you're working a lot and you're tired, so you want something to eat. You go buy something quick to eat at Cane's Chicken, Panda Express, whatever the fuck you want. And yeah, there you go. Okay. And you can't, well, rice and beans would be kind of like a weight loss thing. They're starchy, they've got protein, um, and then rice is just a filler. Rice is also starch. So you now that's where my point is if you work two jobs, you work at McDonald's and you are a janitor at your local high school, you get off of you get off of work at midnight after your shift at McDonald's and you're fucking tired. So you go home. You think you're making the right move because you're not buying fast food, but you go to your freezer and you pull out that Winco freezer meal, you slap it in the microwave and you munch it down. And then you go straight to sleep because you're fucking tired. Respect to you for being a badass and working hard, but you're tired. So then it's also well documented that eating and then sleeping immediately after is not good for you. It's bad. That causes you to build more yellow fat, I think. Um, so that would lead you to be obese. And so if you're in the federal poverty level, it stands to reason you're working really hard. Well, again, there's outliers there, but you're working really hard. You're tired, so you go home and you eat and crash out. Wake up, eat, go to work, and crash out. The cycle. Then if you're above that federal poverty level, you hypothetically have time and skills to access better food, and access things like a gym and access to time to go and utilize all that stuff. You might even have like a hobby like mountain biking or something ridiculous that would help you with the fight against obesity. And that does stand to reason. I think that that does track. But again, what I was saying before we got here, I don't think that that is that this doctor in specific, Dr. Mike, was his tone made it sound like he believed that to be the primary cause. And I don't agree with that. I don't believe. Does that track to you, Cam? You listen to that podcast because I believe his tone was very much like, this is it. This is absolutely it. Not, I don't think, yeah. Yes. Well, he's kind of douchey, and Ian, your comment about being a eugenicist is a strange thing because that oh, but he's Russian or Ukraine. He's Eastern European, but it's that's where I was really losing that guy. That's yeah. I believe he said he was like 45 or something because his family immigrated to the U.S. How cool is that? Ian tore down the wall. What a fucking gangster. Pink. That's that's fucking so sick. Goated with the sauce. But that's where that guy was really losing me. Was like, I your economic standing has absolutely nothing to do with your genetics. And all of those things that he was pointing to as genetic factors, I personally believe are things that you could just work on and you could make better. You could make yourself more conscientious. You could make yourself more active. I mean, you're trying to say something, Cam. That's a crazy concept to me. Yeah. I'm That's cool. I think we have it. I think we got pretty well. Luigi Mangione. Just cuz. Nah. Yeah, sure, it is just a chemical reaction happening upstairs, but I mean, oh yeah, definitely.
Hey, I need help, like right now.
I'll be right back, guys. Oh boy, and then there's Sam Solik. I think that
Saw this today.
that's kind of gross. I
What do you think?
know. Uh, yeah, they look kind of nasty.
That's gross. Is that Say-gep?
Like they def. Oh, good night,
Obese,
Ian. Thanks for joining us.
obese and income statistics.
I just don't like it. If I was a woman, I would not be interested in a rippling man.
Some people go real hard for the V's. I think it looks gross. So why do you want gigantic calves like that?
No, that's all dudes. It's all the dudes.
Only dudes like that.
Yeah, I mean, Sierra, that screen is being recorded, just so you know. Okay, thanks. What are you doing? Oh,
I bet it's Native Americans.
you bet it's Native Americans.
Hmm.
Non-Hispanic Black adults have the highest obesity rate in the United States. Say-gep says, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa." Just in case you were wondering.
Indians.
African American women.
But
That's what the first search. That's what the first search said. That was the first.
yes.
Oh, so that third picture you posted here, my lovely wife Sierra says
He's good
yes,
arms.
yes to this guy, and no to these two knotheads.
Ew. Yeah. Which one would you pick if you had to? I
Uh,
guess no. I don't want to pick.
They're both on so much juice. They're neither one of their dicks work. I'm willing to bet. Well, he's probably on the
His boobs are
Sam
too big for
Solik.
me. His boobs are bigger than mine.
The dad bods are
And that's
at
not a
the top
dad
male
bod.
physique.
That's not a dad bod. I just like a good bicep.
Yeah.
That's it.
But like honestly though, Dr. Mike is probably on enough testosterone that his pecker probably still pecks.
It's gonna be Steve soon. Maybe you should go to the. Did you hear me?
What?
I said that's gonna be Steve soon. Maybe you should go to the gym with Steve.
He goes to EOS.
Shit's expensive.
Oh, there it is. Yeah, I don't like that look either though. I don't like the way obese people look.
But what is obese to you? Because like technically, I think you're in the obese category.
Yeah, clinically I would be obese.
Actually, you might. I think you might just be in the overweight category.
I mean,
I would technically be in the obese category, or like Carissa is in the obese category, I think.
uh-huh.
But she's tall as fuck.
Yeah, well, the metric breakdown there is tricky. Segep says these bodybuilders would be obese based off of their BMI.
True.
So, I mean, like, yeah, like Joe Rogan has talked about that before, where like if you looked at him on paper, he is obese because he's like 5'5" or something, and
Really?
yeah, he's like 5'5" and 200 pounds, and that's fucking crazy. But he's also like 17. His chest is like yeah, but his chest is like 17 feet wide and his biceps are the size of car tires. So, you know, fucking, what are you gonna do there?
Oh no, my eye hurts so hard.
What is this? Oh, new BMI calculator. Let's see here.
I don't believe you. You gotta go
Your
weigh
weight.
yourself.
I am, I'll say 239 pounds. I am 6 feet.
And you have to do inches, and you're in centimeters also.
I am 6 foot. Oh, 66 feet tall. 66 foot tall. 5 inches.
Yeah, but that's
No, I got my little fucking mat.
you're gonna have to put it in inches. It's 77 inches.
Oh, there we go. I am obese.
Shit. 77. So what would make you go to overweight? Put in like 215. You have to count. Oh.
I am.
Wait, but put it back in because you were in the wrong pound. So you're 239. Oh, damn, that's a big boy.
I'm 6'5", yeah.
Makes sense, you're not obese.
Um, yeah, that's interesting. Anybody else care to go?
Take a skinny mini.
Okay. How many? Okay,
Are you doing Say-gep?
nice.
Say-gep's 5'9".
Oh, you're overweight, Cam.
Oh, it's Cameron.
Nice. Traditionally you're overweight. Your new BMI is healthy. Tyler? Overweight but healthy.
I rebuke this entire conversation.
That is interesting.
Tyler's 75.
Right.
Oh, never mind.
Tyler is an inch shorter than I am.
Yes.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Wait.
I mean, Tyler likes Twinks historically. Yeah, that's weird. It's well, all right then. Well, I don't know. Let's sum this all up. Closing remarks. Who wants to go first? Say-gep went first. All right, Tyler. Let's hear some closing remarks. That shit's so fucking crazy. The the percentages Say-gep are 30 to 50% of people have an inner monologue. So 70% of the rest of the population do not. That's debatable as fuck. That's me. That's me. Cam, you want to give some closing remarks? Sure. Nice. Well said. Um, I'm going to kind of parrot what you said, Tyler. The lobbying to, I feel like that I'll get extra sinister. I feel like the being allowed to make Americans fat could very possibly be a form of pacification. A fat and happy build them a circus, and they will not rebel. And our circus has golden arches and seed oils. Um, and if you have a population that's too unhealthy to think straight and to fight the things that you are doing, well, then it's in our net benefit to do that to you. And I think that that's absolutely worth thinking about. That like we're being there is a there could very well be that Illuminati level of manipulation behind the scenes, allowing us to become fat and happy. And it's not good for anybody. And I feel bad for the people that struggle with that. And if there's anybody out there that wants to not be fat anymore, I encourage you to do it. I'm going to do it. Tyler done did it. Say-gep's jacked. You know, Cameron's not an unhealthy piece of shit either. Cameron's a pretty healthy dude. And I, yeah, we don't listen to what the internet nerds say. I think that I feel bad for the people that are fat, and I hope that they can do better and develop themselves. I don't think it's purely a socioeconomic thing. I don't think it's a eugenic exactly. It's not a eugenics question. I think the thing I like to say, where you piss with the cock you got, does not ring in this scenario. I think that the cock you got is good enough, and you can piss wherever you want, and you just need to find a good spot to piss in. Damn, that was profound. Well, well, bummer. Ew. Shut up. What the fuck? All right. Well, I guess that will conclude our Controversial Conversations podcast. Thanks for joining, guys. None of us are experts. We're all talking out of our ass. Do drugs, stay in school. Don't listen to that guy. Put your big boy pants on. Go to work tomorrow. Later, guys.